hell of a lot of time we faced.
All right. Well, as I remember.
At Avenger headquarters.
Because united the Avengers are strong.
Welcome to the Marvel D&T Evolution podcast with myself, Andy Stead.
And I'm Jarian Gibson.
And I'm Alex Stroud.
And we are joined this week by special guest host, Jamie Smith. Jamie is a fellow admin on our Facebook group. How are you doing, Jamie?
Not too bad. You guys doing all right?
All good, thanks, mate. All good. And it's nice to equal out the sides of the Atlantic. I've been outnumbered. Majority of the time I'm outnumbered, but it's nice to even it out a little bit.
Exactly.
So we've brought you on, Jay. You've been waiting to come on for ages, and you're going to come on today, and we're going to talk a little bit about Moon Knight, who's one of your sort of favourite characters in Marvel.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I don't know much about a lot, but that's probably the most thing I know about for sure.
I don't know much about a lot, but I know a lot about Moon Knight. I like that. And it's come right at a good time as well. Obviously, when that trailer hit the other week, he was like, "I'm ready. I'm coming on. I'm doing it." You know, so
yeah,
I
pretty
think
much.
it's come at a really good time. And so we'll get stuck into chatting about that later. But as always, we'll go through a few other bits. And as always, with any guest, and even more so with yourself, just jump in whenever you want on any of the bits that we've got. How you doing, Jarian? All right?
Yep, doing all right. You know, it's a nice day out before we're supposed to get another snowstorm here. So the weather here has been crazy because it's 1 week it's hot, 1 week it's cold. It was mid 40s yesterday. It's mid 60s today, mid 40s tomorrow. But between tomorrow night and Thursday, 3 to 13 inches of snow. So who knows what's going on?
Your weather is insane. It is absolutely insane. We all go mad if we get about an inch of snow down here. But and also for anybody that's watching, Jarian's t-shirt is legendary. He's got
Trust a bro.
Trust a bro. Alex, how are you, mate? All right?
Pretty good. I'm actually on the other end of the snowstorm problem. We woke up the other day and looked outside, and we had snow here, and was not expecting that. But so we got rid of a little tiny snowstorm that we had here as well. So
And snow's rare for you, isn't it? Because you guys don't get a lot of snow there.
Oh, like here, I think I can count almost every time it snowed on one hand. So,
It snows quite often up where you are, doesn't it, Jamie?
Yeah, quite a lot. Sometimes I'm not too much further north than it would be all the time.
Nice. And Alex, sorry, I forgot to say, and I mean I can see him, and anybody else that's watching, you've got some Funkos lined up there. I highly expected that to happen, but what you got behind you?
So I've got Moon Knight, since we're talking about Moon Knight, Wilson Fisk, Matt Murdock, and the Punisher from the Daredevil show. I just love those three. And then, of course, Wanda with the Darkhold and Blade, because why not Blade? So.
And that's the little Daredevil there. That's the Daredevil that we were speaking about with Paul last week. That's just shot up in price because of what happened in No Way Home.
Yeah, and it's funny. He's even wearing like almost the exact same suit in No Way Home. Like it may not be the same gray, but he's wearing a gray suit and the glasses and everything. So
what you're telling me they didn't color match his grey suit in No Way Home to the Funko that was released 5 years ago?
No, probably not.
I actually have the actual yellow suit Daredevil in my pile of Funkos that I need to go through and do something with. That's in my closet.
You never know. You might have a grail.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. I know I've seen those Deadpool ones, the different colored Deadpool ones, go for some high dollars sometimes, but I'll have to go check and see.
And I can just see there that Jamie's just displaying his little Moon Knight collection.
Yep, there we go.
Look at that. Look.
Nice. I like the drawings too. Or the paintings or coloring.
That was my boys that decided they wanted to do some colouring, and I was like, I might as well put them on display.
Nice.
That's awesome.
Nice work.
Well,
look, he's got his gear. So just a quick recap on last week, talking about Funkos. We had Paul Scardino on from the Funko fame, our recently dethroned Guinness Book of Records holder. Although having said that, when he said the last count he had was that when he had the record, it was 5,000 something, and now he's up to 7,400 or something. I was like, blimey, maybe he's got that record back. But it was great to chat with Paul. I mean, we're all big Funko fans on here now, but we know we've got quite a few Funko fans on our Facebook group, and it's becoming more and more popular, isn't it? And Paul on to hear about how his journey started as well. I thought was really interesting how he transcended just it being a collectible item and actually used it to help people in a real way with his practice as a social worker, and actually finding a common ground with people. I thought he was really interesting. I don't know what you thought about him, Alex, but I really enjoyed talking to him.
No, I mean, I actually really enjoyed that. It's always, I guess, really, really nice when you use something relatable to really like speak to somebody or to get to know someone, or to use it as like a way to build a bridge, I guess, for you to somebody else in conversation. So especially when he told that part in the story about like how he'll just kind of like walk in and he's like, we'll find something that the person likes, on the shelf somewhere. Like there's got to be one that, and that's just kind of like him using something that he loves to build that bridge, So
yeah, that is great. And obviously, and for me, finding out that they do furry Funkos was just a revelation. I've got to get a Bob Ross. I've got to get a Bob Ross with the furry hair.
Oh yeah, that was awesome. Awesome.
Well, I've got Deadpool as Bob Ross, which is brilliant. It's one of my favourite Funkos. But I'd love to get an actual Bob Ross with furry hair, like little and fuzzy hair. I think that'd be great. But no, it was good chatting with Paul, and nice to have a contrast. Somebody totally different of that does something different that we haven't had on before. So that was really cool. But moving forward, let's crack into a bit of MCU news, Jarian, shall we, and find out what's going on. So over to you, mate.
Yeah, so the first one, Vincent D'Onofrio is not sure about his future with Marvel Studios. Looks like he doesn't have anything more on contract-wise, but has said he wants to return and he wants to be involved in things like Spider-Man 4, Daredevil, and the Punisher. I think more right now it's probably just more of them trying to figure out what's next for him in the MCU. I'm sure we'll probably see him in Echo. We better see him in Echo to kind of see that story go forward, especially the way Hawkeye ended. Daredevil is rumored to be all over the place in the MCU in the future, so definitely see them there. But I'd also love to see him up against Spider-Man as well, whether it's Spider-Man 4 or a crossover movie or something, or a crossover event.
Yeah, I'd like to see more of Kingpin. I want to see more of that really confident, brutal type of character that we saw in Daredevil. I don't think we saw that in Hawkeye really. I know there was obviously that sort of struggle that everyone said he had because he got blipped and he come back and he lost a bit of power and all of that. But I want to see that similar version to what we saw in Daredevil.
It's funny too because Kingpin was also introduced in Spider-Man, so we never really. I don't think we've ever really even thought of the idea. Like we've seen him in Daredevil, everybody automatically just like pushes those two characters together. But it'd be nice to see him in a Spider-Man movie, or in something involved with Spider-Man.
It needs to happen at least once. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You need to get it.
Yeah, because the only taste we've gotten so far has been Into the Multiverse,
Yeah.
in that movie. But I want to see live action, see Spider-Man 4 or see, whatever goes forward. Maybe even if they pass the torch to Miles Morales, be involved in that side of it, which is another rumor. Speaking of Spider-Man and Miles Morales, is that we may see that set up for the future in the MCU as well. So a lot of stuff floating out there about that also.
I think if we see Kingpin in Spider-Man, it would make sense. I mean, looking at the timeline of what's happened, obviously the end of Spider-Man ties up with right around the same time. The end of No Way Home, ties up right about the same time as the end of Hawkeye, or right around that time. So, Spider-Man's just come on the scene. Nobody, not just come on the scene, but nobody knows who he is. He's got this new sort of very down-to-earth costume, and we've got, Kingpin, who's obviously survived that interaction with Echo, but he's kind of lost on the streets. Has he got any power? Is he trying to claw power back now? So I think that would be really interesting to see him and Spider-Man face off against each other.
They could always replicate that into the Spider-Verse thing where we saw Miles Morales' uncle, the Prowler, in Homecoming, and they could just push those two characters together,
Yep.
make them, like, have some sort of history or something, and put that in the background. The
Yeah.
MCU.
And the tracksuits, because he was using them to build back his mafia or his power. So more
Yeah, but-
tracksuits.
Yeah.
How many more is there?
I don't know. I was surprised by the sheer number we saw in the finale.
Clint and Kate just took out a waterfall of tracksuits. I didn't know there was
Yeah.
that many in the first place.
However many tracksuits they can make.
Yeah.
They'll wear them.
It depends where they're getting them from.
And you get a tracksuit. You get a tracksuit.
Is it fast fashion? If it's fast fashion, anybody can get hold of any amount.
Hey, and
Yeah.
one thing too, since we mentioned Spider-Man and Spider-Man 4 and No Way Home and Peter Parker and everyone forgetting who he was. So there was a conversation in the group, and I can't remember who posted this. But do you think that all the Stark stuff forgot him as well, like the Ether glasses, all the suits that he had from Stark? You think that forgot him as well, or is that purely to actual people and not technology?
Yeah, I would probably say so. Yeah, because it was. I think somebody said about Vision. Would Vision
Yeah.
know who he was, and would would Friday know who he was, or Karen, or whatever he called? What did he call it? It was
Yeah.
Karen, yeah. Friday with
Yeah.
Starks.
Yeah. So would Karen know who he was? Yeah, I don't know really. I have no idea.
Yeah,
Really?
something interesting to see how this, because that I think that was the premise for him building the new suit. Was because maybe all of his tech was not working anymore or can't identify him anymore. So interesting to find that out. Sorry about the sidetrack, but since we mentioned it, I just thought about that as talking about it.
It's not unusual for us to sidetrack, to be fair, Jorian. So don't worry about it. Okay, yeah, cool. Well, we all want to see more of Vinny D, and we all want to see more of Kingpin, and so wherever he pops up, that'd be great. But it does make sense. We surely will see him in Echo. They can't leave that open, can they? Really, they've got to close that off.
Yeah.
Go on, then, mate. What else we got?
So the next one is going to be She-Hulk. So it looks like it's sounding to be a 10-episode series. Not sure what the length of it yet, but I know you said early on you heard from an interview with Feige about it being 10 episodes. I saw some stuff out there from some of the people I follow to get some of the new stuff that said it looks like it's going to be 10 episodes as well. But the biggest She-Hulk news that was out last week in an exclusive interview, I'm blanking on his name now.
Tim Roth.
Tim Roth, thank you. Tim Roth, who plays Emil Blonsky / Abomination, says that he will be in human form in the series, which we don't see in the comics. We don't see him change back. He's one of those characters that once he becomes Abomination, he's not like Banner where he can go back and forth. He actually stays in Abomination form. So I wonder what's going to happen here. Do they get some kind of way to change him back? Is what we saw with Banner at the end of Shang-Chi coming to play, where we saw him back from Smart Hulk being Banner. Is there some experimentation there as well? We did see Abomination with Wong in Shang-Chi, so is he back on the side with Banner and the rest of the crew? So it's interesting to see how that plays out for him in that series.
Yeah, I'm really confused about that whole situation.
Yeah.
I mean, where does it fit on the timeline? Like, where does She-Hulk fit on the timeline? Because we see Hulk in the She-Hulk images that we got, not the trailer, or was it? It was on Disney Plus Day.
Mhm.
But on those images, Hulk is Professor Hulk, isn't he?
Yep.
And there's it. Obviously now we know at the end of Shang-Chi, he's back to being Banner again. Can he turn back? He's got his arm in the cast in Shang-Chi, but he doesn't look like he's got his arm. I don't know what's going on. It seems a bit, we'll need more information, I think.
I think my guess with that is that the time between Infinity War and Endgame is probably part of the series. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if that absence that we saw him. Remember, he said he was in the lab doing stuff, and that's where they kind of came together as Banner and Hulk become Smart Hulk. I wouldn't be surprised if the part where we see him working with She-Hulk with Walters is part of during that time between Endgame and Infinity War. And it would make sense why she wasn't in Endgame, because she probably was still trying to figure out her powers or still coming into her own. And then possibly fast forward later to around the current day, maybe, we'll say like a time jump maybe, but that's still not going to explain Abomination, because we
No.
saw that Shang-Chi is more current than Endgame or Infinity War and Endgame. So during that series, do they run across Abomination and take him back to the lab and help him become Blonsky again? So who knows how that's going to work out?
Maybe that's like Banner's deal with the government. Like he, works in the Gamma Lab to reverse that and be able to manipulate the changes or something like that.
I mean, that's how we get Red Hulk
Yeah,
eventually.
and that's the window. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, could there be any scope for? It can't surely flash back all that way back to before he turned into Abomination, could it?
Well, if it's 10 episodes, I'm sure they'll do some kind of flashback. They've been pretty good in the series on Disney Plus of doing flashbacks and tying things in together. Prime example was Hawkeye. When Hawkeye started off, we saw the Battle of New York with Kate
That's
Bishop
true.
when she was a child and how her father passed away. So we've also seen too. Was the Captain America Winter Soldier? We had a couple flashbacks, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Our Falcon Winter Soldier, and then we had some stuff going back in WandaVision. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see some flashbacks in the beginning, but also later in the series as well. Like we'll have the flashback between Infinity War and Endgame for Walters and Banner, and then have a flashback when they figure out the Abomination story.
Well, and Abomination looked different, like in the most recent movies, so they
Yep.
could always like explain that as like a change, as in like, oh, like he was getting worked on with the Gamma Lab or whatever, and he looks a little bit differently now, or
Or
whatever
just
they want to do with
or
that.
just the serum working his way through his system. Maybe he evolved a little bit, but then it kind of wore off, and he just changed back on his own.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe. I think it is almost a shame to have somebody of Tim Roth's quality only play the Abomination. Do you know? I'm not saying that Abomination isn't a great character, but Tim Roth is awesome, and to for want of a better word, waste him on a mindless monster is a shame. So I'm quite pleased that we're going to see him in human form because he's awesome.
Yeah, and that's
It's
probably
more-
part of the reason why too. A part of his maybe contract with Marvel Studios is to be back in Blonsky form and that kind of stuff.
It's more of that Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde kind of like thing, You get both sides of it.
All I want to see, talking about awesome, I want to see awesome Andy. The
android.
who works for the same law company as Jennifer Walters. I want to see awesome Andy. That'd be great. But
I'm interested to see.
I think it would be funny to throw him in Armor Wars. Just saying.
Yeah,
that'd be a good place. I'm also interested to see if they go back to Mr. Blue, or if they just replace Mr. Blue, with the actual leader, in the series. There was reports of Jim Carrey, being in the series, out there, and it looks like it's not MODOK from what Ant-Man the Quantumania is. So could he be playing the leader possibly in She-Hulk if they have him? So very interesting to see where that goes. If Jim Carrey's still even in it though.
Yeah. Again, I quite liked Tim Blake Nelson.
Yep.
I quite like Tim Blake Nelson. As I like him as an actor. I think he's good, and I think he'd probably make a really good leader actually. So it'd be good to get some more callbacks to that Incredible Hulk movie. I mean, we've obviously had General Ross turning back up again, and we had the little what if version of it, didn't we? And obviously we've got Tim Roth coming back as Abomination. We've already had him back as Abomination. So I'm not sure I'm overly bothered about seeing Liv Tyler again as Betty Ross, if I'm honest. Yeah,
I wouldn't mind seeing Betty Ross' character, but not Liv Tyler again.
Yeah, I don't actually mind Liv Tyler, but I don't think I want to see her as Betty Ross. Go on, Jay. What did you say?
I can't. I've not heard her doing anything in years. Has she been in it? I don't know.
I think she's. Am I right in thinking that she's a mother now and she's got some kids? I'm not sure, but I haven't heard of her doing anything for a long time either. But I wouldn't be fussed if I didn't see her as Betty Ross again. But I think it would be important to see Betty. I think that could even be turning the cogs a little bit, maybe, and maybe clutching at straws. But it could even be maybe something that turns to the World War Hulk storyline. That kind of him. I don't know. Something happens to Betty, maybe. I don't know, but I don't know.
We also know his son's going to be in it too, so Scar's going to be in it also. So, maybe between her and Scar, something happens, and that's where the Werewolf Hulk happens. But everything I've been hearing so far about Werewolf Hulk has been that it's going to be a war among the Hulks, not really the same storyline as Worldbreaker Hulk. So,
right, okay.
So obviously She-Hulk, Abomination, Hulk, Scar, maybe even Thunderbolt Ross as Red Hulk. The Wrecking Crew.
Yes, come on, the Wrecking Crew.
A-Bomb
Is
as
there-
well, the blue guy.
A-Bomb,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there
A-Bomb.
any? Good.
No, go on, Alex. Go on.
I was just gonna say, isn't there a chance that we could probably get Red She-Hulk?
Maybe.
Red She-Hulk. My God.
Or maybe they do a play on the Winter Hulk they have in the new series.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If anything, I just want to see at some stage we've got to see Wolverine getting eaten by the Hulk, and then Wolverine cutting himself out of Hulk. That's got to happen. Don't care what anything else. That's got to happen. Yeah, I mean, I think it's gonna. I'm actually really intrigued by She-Hulk because I just don't know what to expect.
Yeah.
I've read a little bit of She-Hulk and. It was all right, but I wasn't really overly keen. So I'm really, looking forward to seeing what they can do with it in live action. Really.
Yeah, I like the cartoons on Disney Plus of She-Hulk.
Right, I've not seen them.
Yeah, those are really good. I like those. I'm not too keen on the new Winter Hulk stuff they've written recently. Hopefully they're not going that route, but we all know that usually when they change something and make some kind of new series, it has some kind of tie-in to what's going on in the MCU. So
yeah, that's true. Wicked. What else we got, Jaren? Anything else?
yes. So Doom. Doom's rumors making the rounds again. I know in the past we talked about, and I've always said that Wakanda Forever would be the perfect place to introduce Doom. Kind of have him behind the scenes causing the problems, and maybe trying to get his hands on vibranium and take part of the series into what happened during the snap and that kind of stuff. But a new rumor suggests that we are going to have some kind of Doom setup in Wakanda Forever, possibly not necessarily see Doom, but see kind of like the UN nations type of thing that we saw at the end of Civil War and in Black Panther type thing, where we see Latvia in there as a nation, and maybe have an indirect tie-in for Doom and kind of laying the seeds for that. Whatever they do, though, is that I hope they don't do the same Fantastic Four that we've seen twice now done, where it's always Fantastic Four and Doom. I'd love to see him somewhere else, and I think Wakanda Forever and him manipulating things behind the scenes, and going that route will be the best bet to do that. So hopefully they do some kind of tie-in there. I haven't heard anything about casting rumors or anything like that. But I wonder who they would cast for Doom. I don't think they would go with someone older. I know everyone likes some of the older characters for it, but I think when they do eventually cast Doom, it's probably going to be more middle-aged than older, I think. So
has to be somebody with the right voice.
Yep.
I feel like it has to be like a commanding kind of style actor.
I won't be surprised if it's an unknown too.
Yeah.
And that's really interesting, though. Oh, my bad, Andy. Go ahead.
No, go for it, mate. Go on.
I was just gonna say that's really interesting too about the thoughts about like the political stage with Doom, like him probably using like a prime minister or something like that to manipulate world events and benefit him on a large scale too.
Yeah, I think they have to go down that route. I really like that idea that he's a political sort of terrorist almost and a manipulator and somebody like that. I think just having him as an evil, magic powerful being, he's I think they need something else. Like they need to bring it. It needs to be real. Do you know what I mean? It needs to be real, and
maybe
I think
build to that over a long time. Sure, but start off realistic.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think, and do you know what? And that's kind of what I really liked about Trevor as the Mandarin. Like when they first brought Pinky, I was like, I love this idea. Like he's a terrorist. I think this is brilliant. And then they kind of went, oh no, it's not. And I went, oh, I was quite looking forward to that. That was going to be really cool. Like it was a really good idea. But Yeah, but never mind. But yeah, no, maybe build to that. Like he's got that in that's already in him, but he's using this kind of political platform to gain power. Maybe.
And that's why I think they're going to go someone middle aged or younger and not necessarily older, because it's going to be a multi not movie, but a multi appearance contract.
Yeah, like over the generations
Yep.
sort of thing. Yeah, we want to see this guy develop over the next sort of 10 years, really.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, I like that idea. And actually watching him grow, actually, and that might actually be a really good idea. It uses the political landscape to put himself in a position of power so that then he can use his actual power to then, to rule. And obviously, you don't just walk into politics. You have to sort of build your way, through from the floor upwards, the bottom up. So,
And
yeah.
so what about this? So we know after Secret Invasion that Osborn kind of takes over, from the whole Shield and Stark stuff and all that kind of thing. What if they did something different in the MCU, since there's really been no idea that Osborn is coming in the MCU? What if Doom played that role as the Osborn role of being, hey, all this happens, Doom's like, I have all this technology, I can do all this stuff, for the United Nations, coming in through and playing that Osborn role of taking things over, and they could even what if they tie Val back to Doom in some way? That she's kind of been like out there doing some things and that kind of stuff. He's kind of behind the scenes waiting to make his appearance.
Yeah, I can see that.
So
I think
just
that'd
something
be
I thought
really
about.
good. Yeah, and I think if they're going to play down that Thunderbolts and that Dark Reign kind of thing, they need somebody to take over Shield or somebody to do that, don't they?
Yep.
And yeah, I think it's a bit late. But then again, they've not brought in Doom, so we say it's a bit late to bring Norman Osborn, but they haven't brought in Doom yet, so it's not too late to bring in anybody, is it really? But yeah, no, I can see that as well, Jaren. Yeah, but yeah, we all want Doom, so.
And then last piece of news is there's been a lot of interviews out there about Guardians of the Galaxy 3, Karen Gillian, or Jillian, however you say your last name, sorry, and Dave Bautista as well. So it does sound like it's going to be action-packed, but also sounds like that this is going to be the end of the Guardians of the Galaxy as we know it. I know before they said expect some deaths from the movie. So it looks like, some of these characters are probably going to be coming to their end of their run in the MCU. And just talking reading what Dave Bautista is out there in the interview and stuff, it probably is the last time we see of Drax, possibly. I don't think they're going to kill off the entire team, but I wouldn't be surprised if we lose some big name characters this next movie.
Yeah, do you know what I'd like to see? I'd like to see Moonstone, so like Drax's daughter. And that might be a way to kill Drax off.
Pass the torch.
Yeah, but that might be the sort of vehicle that they use to kill him off. Like he sacrifices himself to like save his daughter or bring his daughter back to life, or I don't know. But I think it'd be cool to see Moonstone. She's quite a cool character, actually. From what I've read I haven't read a massive amount, but what I have read, I've quite liked her character.
Is her name Moonstone or Moondragon?
Moondragon, yeah. Moondragon.
Moondragon.
There's too many moon characters.
Fitting on a Moon Knight episode.
Right, hold on. Moonstone is in the
Alpha
Thunderbolts.
Flight.
Yes.
Oh wait, yeah.
Thunderbolts.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. All right, okay. Yeah, like you said, there's too many moon characters. Moondragon,
Yeah.
Moon Knight, Moonstone. Is there any others?
Yeah, that is. The Moon
I
Girl.
think there's one in Alpha Flight.
No, wait, that's Devil Dinosaur. Yeah, Devil Dinosaur, Moon Girl, right?
Yeah.
Moon Girl.
Yeah.
Moon Girl. Yeah.
Yeah, too many moons.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, you get my point anyway.
Yeah. So, out of all the Guardians, though, if only a few make it out, which is the one in your case cannot, you want to keep, cannot die? So you go first, Andy.
Well, me go first. Oh,
Yeah.
Gamora.
More. Okay.
I like Gamora. I think she's cool. I like Zoe Saldana anyway, but I like Gamora. Yeah, I think she's badass, isn't she? To be totally honest, so I like Gamora. But I think Rocket's death would be brilliant. I think that would be absolutely. We need to see that. Not because I don't want to see Rocket anymore, but that would be brilliant. And I'll tell you why. And this sounds awful, but seeing an animal die is so much more emotional than seeing a person die. And I think
Yeah.
Rocket will give you that, and I think that would be awful, but just brilliant as well at the same time. Like really emotional enough. We need to see it.
And flip that moment from the first movie where Groot like dies and he's like, but Groot, you'll die, but they flip it with Groot and Rocket dies. That would be a crazy way to change that.
Yeah, and I would go as far to say that if we did see Rocket die, I reckon that would probably be up there as people's top sort of like most saddest tear-jerking MCU moment.
Mm-hmm.
How about you,
I
Jamie?
agree.
Who's yours?
Kana, or you don't want to? So, do you mean story-wise, or who would I prefer not to die?
Not to die. So who do you want to stay in the MCU and to keep going forward?
It's gotta be Quill. Has to be.
Gone with Quill.
It's gotta be.
Nice. I tell you what, having read Old Man Wastelander's Quill, I don't know if anybody's read it yet. If
Not
you
yet.
get hold of it, I tell you what, I'll keep him if they go down that route with, because
Yes.
that was brilliant.
It just seems a lot more you could do Star-Lord than you could with, say, Groot. What else could Groot really do? Unless you want to get really weird, I suppose. But then again, we are getting I Am Groot, are we? So
Yeah.
Unless you want to get really weird. We could get weird.
Alex, how about you?
I'm gonna have to go with Quill because I want to see with the Celestials. I want to see them like do that thing where it's like, oh, Quill's still got his light inside of him, and he can use that to be a threat to the Celestials. I mean, I feel like he's like one of the only ones in the Guardians that really has like a heavy purpose that could be used like in the future of the MCU if they wanted to make him like a weapon against Celestials, like kind of like you know what I'm saying, like their weakness.
Yeah. No.
So
I can see that.
for me,
what about you then, Joran? Yeah, go on.
Yeah, so for me, I definitely agree about Rocket. Seeing him die will probably be the most impactful, and I do want them to go with like kind of old man Quill type thing. Maybe have like a group of like Quill, Logan, and Hawkeye, like old men in the MCU type thing. So I wouldn't mind seeing that. But for me, my favorite Guardian in the MCU is Nebula. I love Karen's portrayal of her. I love the arc they've done with her. And I didn't get the one thing I wanted to see in Endgame with Nebula. And so if they find some way to do any of the Infinity stuff again and bring Thanos back, I want to see that moment on screen. So that's why with Nebula. But I love the cool ideas from Alex. I agree with Jamie and Andy and the Wastelander stuff. But for me, it's Nebula though.
Talking about Nebula and Thanos, do you think that they put, because in the comics, in the Infinity Gauntlet contract, he really did treat her like crap.
Yep.
Like he took her like absolute crap. Do you think they got that across in the movies, that how badly Thanos treated Nebula?
I think for the most part, especially in Endgame, when you saw her kind of apart but not fully apart on the ship, in that she tried to kill him and he nearly killed her. Not Endgame, Infinity War. And then going back to the past scenes and Endgame with her, you saw kind of that, and you saw how she wanted to do anything to please him because of that. So you kind of got it, but I wouldn't mind seeing a little bit more. And there is that rumor of that Brolin is not done in the MCU, that he could be back as Thanos and as Cable. So maybe we'll get something like that.
Yeah. Yep.
But that's all the news I got. So
just before you move on, can you imagine now we've got Will Poulter coming in as Adam Warlock? So you would think that if they was going to go down the Magus route, so he's his future alternate evil self, isn't it? Yeah.
Yep.
So that would still be Will Poulter. Can you imagine Will Poulter bossing as Magus bossing around Josh Brolin as Thanos?
I'd love it.
It would be brilliant, wouldn't it? I'd love to see that. But yeah, I want to see Thanos back and being the Magus's bitch. To be totally honest, that's what I want to see. But yeah, that'd be interesting.
But yeah, that's all the news. So let's go ahead and talk about what we're going to talk about today.
Wicked. So we've got Jamie on, and Jamie is desperate to come in and talk about Moon Knight, based on the back of the trailer. But also, as you said, you don't know much about anything, but you know about Moon Knight in your own words. So, but first of all, just just briefly, because we do with all of our guests, and I know we know you, but maybe some of our listeners don't know you as well as we do. So just, I know, they know that you're an admin on our Facebook group, and all of that kind of stuff. But just tell us about your sort of intro into Marvel as a whole.
Well, it probably all started with Blade, the original Blade movie. Probably too young to watch it at the time, but we've all done it. And I got intrigued as well, so that's a comic book thing. So there's not a lot of comic book stores here. There's one or two that have been open and shut and moved and all over the town. I managed to get into one. As a kid, I was like, I'll have that one. I'll have that one. It's Blade. Just picked up two totally random, not linked together at all. Again, 10, 11-year-old kid tried reading. I was like, I don't know what's going on here. Went on the next one, totally separate run. Yeah, I still don't know what's going on here. So I kind of dropped it for a bit. And then as more of the movies came out, I was like, I need to think about this a bit more. I want to go and try and read some comics. So I got a bit older, and actually asked the guys in the store, which is always good to do. And he suggested a few things, asked me what sort of things I was into, what sort of things I liked. And Moon Knight was the first one. He handed me a proper run. He said, you can start here, on you go. And that was the first comic I really properly read a full run of. And I just drifted back and forth between it over the years, really. And
Nice,
with Marvel Unlimited, it's a lot easier to just pick up anything when you feel like it.
So what you said there, though, that was indicative of what's going on with my youngest son right now. So he'll go to the comic shop and he'll just look and he'll just pick up, like you say, a random one. I'm trying to say to him, like, look, start there. And he's like, no, I like the look of this one, so I'm going to buy this one. So he just reads like random comics, like you said, and it doesn't make any sense. And he's 11 as well, so probably same sort of age as what you were. So he likes Winter Soldier and Shang-Chi. And Black Widow, he likes that kind of stuff, but it's just random. And I'm like, read this story. He's like, no, just going to read that.
Good start point.
Yeah, like I say, and I think what you just said there actually is really important. Like most of these guys that own these comic book shops, like they're really cool. If you just say to them, like, look, I'm really into this kind of stuff. What should I read? They'll give you a run to read, and it makes so much more sense. Oh, nice. That's nice and refreshing as well, actually, to hear somebody say they got into Marvel through Blade.
Yeah.
It's not most people's like in, is it really? So
no.
But yeah, that was cool. I did see a funny meme today, and it was a movie of Blade basically cutting down all the Avengers and just saying, "Can't." But it's like you look like a bunch of what did he say? Like a bunch of like carnival folk or something like that. I don't know. Look at how you dressed. Is that tactical? Like it's Blade movie, but it's quite funny. Anyway, sorry, Jay, I digress. So you got into Moon Knight, and that's what we're here for today. We're here to talk about Moon Knight. So go on, tell us who is Moon Knight.
Moon Knight is, well, from what we know, the trailer for the series might seem like it's not, but it's Marc Spector, a mercenary. And he basically just ends up getting killed in Egypt on a job. And he's resurrected by the moon god, Khonshu, to be his avatar to fight for justice.
Nice.
More or less.
And there's this so we see it in the trailer, and I've been banging on about it for ages, about these kind of multiple identities that he's got. So I mean, we all kind of know, but are they just multiple identities? Are there different people? What's the story there?
See, it's really that complicated. Alex will know. He's been reading, and it's like, is this happening? Is this not happening? Right. And you never really get a definitive answer. It's more, what do you think when you read it, when you see it? What do you think? Is this happening? Is this not happening?
Nice.
And you get to that point, and I think the one that Alex has been reading, he says, hey, maybe I am crazy, maybe I'm not, but either way, I've got to deal with this, so I need to get it sorted and figure out a way of controlling it. So he himself, he thinks, maybe I am crazy, maybe I'm not.
You
So-
honestly question it like almost as much as the character himself, you know,
Yes.
like you reading the comic, it's like one of those things where it's like there's a scene like in one of the first things I read where he's like looking at two medical employees and then he sees them as like jackals, like as like part of Anubis, and he thinks that they're after him, but then like he also sees them normally again. So it's like what's real, what's not, kind of, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
In a way, it's kind of for me because I'm not the biggest. Like I don't read a lot of the Moon Knight stuff. Most of my knowledge is crossover stuff with
Yeah,
Moon
same,
Knight.
same as
But
mine.
but that's something I'm gonna read on. But before the series starts, you know, more of his more of the comic books of him. But just looking at the trailer and from what I know of him, it has a Memento / Fight Club kind of vibe. You know, where it's Tyler Durden, it's Cornelius or the narrator or whatever Edward Norton's name is in the movie. But then look at Memento as well, where the guy just keeps forgetting stuff and things trigger him and that kind of stuff. And he's trying to get his memory back. So it's almost like a cross between those two, and that's what I'm kind of expecting to see in this series, I guess.
Yeah, it could maybe be the way I'm seeing it. It could be maybe a meeting of 2 points. You could get an episode like Memento, start at the end.
Yeah.
He's working back. The second episode, start at the start, working in, and it just all maybe comes together to a certain point in the middle.
Yeah,
Something that's triggered this.
I love that idea actually. That kind of starting at different points and seeing different aspects of the story from his different personalities.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I really like that idea. I think as you all know, I don't think I've mentioned it on the podcast in a minute, but as you all know, I just finished watching Black Summer, which was the zombie one, and I think they've done a really good job of that kind of story where they show you different angles, but it was from different people. So it'd be really interesting if they showed you the same story, but from the same person's perspective, but as a different person every time. You know, so that's starting at different points. But it sounds really cerebral, really kind of, you know, like you said, I like that idea that it could go down the Fight Club route because that's really cool. You know, especially there's that moment, isn't there, towards just before. Spoiler warning for Fight Club. So if anybody's not seen it, if you're not what you're doing, you're a bit late. But there's that moment for it's about 10 minutes before he finds out that he is Tyler Durden, and it's just like you're just going crazy as well. You're going, what's going on? Like, I don't know what's going on. And if this whole thing is like that, and like what Alex and you were just saying there, Jay, if this whole show takes that element from the comics, I think this is going to be fantastic.
Because it could definitely be a lot of, is any of this happening? What we see in the trailer, does any of that actually happen in real life? I mean, that could be a good thing. So if they do something wrong, they could just go in the next season and go, well, that didn't actually happen. So you can forget about that. Because there's a lot of that in the comics. There's a lot of things redone.
Oh, really?
Fixed. So the preview, yeah. There's a lot of restart points. It restarts because initially it didn't really. I mean, there was the multiple personality aspect of it, but right at the start, the way that played that off as it wasn't multiple personalities. It was just aliases. He wasn't.
Okay.
He wasn't like crazy. But they did slowly build on it. It would be he'd go out as Jake in his taxi, and that's how we found about all the low level stuff through his contacts in like a diner. And there's the homeless guy that always has a tea bag with him, Crawley. He carries a tea bag with him. Don't ask. But he finds things out from he finds all the things from from the other homeless people, the crimes, and then he's got Stephen Grant, the millionaire, and then he's Marc Spector, and he's Moon Knight.
Right, okay.
And you'll see him come home to the mansion that he lives as Stephen Grant, and his his wife, his love interest Marlene. It's just as the issues go on, she basically just asks him, like, well, who are you just now? Are you still Jake just now, or are you Marc? Who am I talking to? They have a little argument. It's like I don't even know who I'm arguing with, and they slowly started building on that. Initially, it was just aliases. that he was in complete control of until he wasn't.
Right. And I'll tell you what, you just exactly what you just said there. You could have just substituted the names out, and I can't remember what the girl's name is in Fight Club. Who does
Helena Bonham Carter.
Helen
Oh,
Bonham Carter?
Martha Singer, right?
Is that her name?
I
But
think it's
she
Martha Singer,
says,
something like that.
she has that exact same conversation with him. She was like, "Who am I even talking to? Who are you?" She says that to him, doesn't she?
Yeah.
She says that to Ed Norton's character. So that literally sounded exactly like what you were just saying there. So that's going to be cool because
Yeah.
I think Fight Club's brilliant, and I know it's some people it's not for them, but I think it was excellent.
I love that movie.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Yeah, Marla Singer was her name.
Marla, that's it. Yeah, Marla. But I think that that whole kind of I like the idea that it's in the comics it started out as just aliases, like this is who he wants to be, but then he actually those aliases kind of took over, and he then
Mhm.
actually became he didn't know if he was which person he was. I like that idea. I don't think they'll go that way in the MCU though. I think it'll probably
No.
just have this kind of disorder from the beginning for whatever reason. And I really like Alex's idea that he posted on the group, so I'm going to let him explain it because I can't really remember it, and it won't be as elegant as the way he'll explain it. So, what was your idea as to why he had these multiple personalities?
So do you want me just to read it? Because like I can just read it. It's just a couple of paragraphs.
Go on, then, you read it. You read it.
All right. So Marc Spector is originally from the main timeline in the MCU. Since the multiverse shenanigans have started, he is technically a Nexus being in the MCU, and the various variants of himself are split personalities that he seems to show. They are all being pulled into Mark's body, and that is why he exhibits different personalities sporadically. Khonshu is real, and due to his feud with Rama-Tut in the past during Egyptian times, he's not a fan of Rama-Tut, Kang the Conqueror, or He Who Remains, for instance. Khonshu has chosen Marc Spector to be his avatar in his personal war against Kang and his variants. He will give Khonshu vengeance against Kang as the Fist of Khonshu. And that's pretty much it.
Yeah, so I really like that idea because it wraps up this whole variance thing with the multiple personalities thing, with my big word of the phase identity, and it sort of says, well, actually, he is all these people. Like he genuinely is. Like, these are aliases or variants or whatever you want to say, and they've all been kind of pushed into one body, and he's getting these kind of like crossovers. Like, which one am I? Like, well, he's all of them. I really like that idea. I think that kind of that makes it very relevant to what's going on in the sort of wider MCU at the minute with the variants and with Loki and with He Who Remains, and it'd be a really cool way to bring that show and wrap it into what else is going on. Whether they do that or not, I don't know, but I just thought that was a really cool idea. So well done, Alex.
Yeah,
And I was just gonna say we saw in No Way Home too. Like everybody just forgets Spider-Man's identity. So like now we're seeing somebody with multiple identities. It would kind of make sense with the multiverse to just like with all the multiverse issues that are starting. If like you have one person who somehow has been like as the universe is pushed together and collide becomes multiple people. I mean, it's just weird kind of thought there, but
no, I think that makes perfect sense. I don't think that's weird at all. I think that's a great idea. Although I do like the idea that he is just genuinely mental. I also like that, and I think that would be really cool to see as well.
But going to Alex's theory, also, I'd love to see a flashback with Khonshu and Rama-Tut. Even if it's like a something minor in the series, and to kind of tie that in together, because I'd be interested to see how they're going to tie Moon Knight into what we've seen so far, or if they're going to start a new kind of, I guess, theme in the MCU. Like, is Moon Knight going to kick off the more horror side of the MCU? And is this going to lead into Midnight Suns? Because we know we already have Doctor Strange. We know Punisher is rumored to be coming. We know Where by Night is coming in a special. Ghost Rider has been heavily rumored coming. We know Blade's coming. Morbius is on the Sony side, so it'd be interesting to see where they go with this. And we have Black Knight too. And with us seeing the Ebony Blade and some rumors about how they're going to do it in the MCU? Is it tied to Vampire Fangs? Is it tied to Null? Or is it just the different version of the original version of Ebony Blade? So I wonder if that's going to start that route, and that's how we get Midnight Suns. So I want to kind of see where this is all going with Moon Knight.
All right, cool. Jamie, who do you think Ethan Hawke is playing? Has it been confirmed? Do we know? Do we what sort of where are we going with that?
There was the name in
Arthur Harrow.
Arthur, yeah,
Yep.
I can't properly remember him. He was vaguely mentioned in the earlier comics, but he was nothing really.
He's like a scientist, right?
significant. Yes.
Yeah, zombies
Yeah.
and science. Yeah, operating.
Yeah.
So, yeah, from the rumor that I heard, it's going to be a combination of Sun King and Arthur Harrow. Is
And
how they're going to
who-
do it in the MCU.
For everybody that's listening, who's the Sun King?
Sun King is, well, as I said before, Moon Knight is the fist of Khonshu, the avatar of Khonshu, and Sun King is basically that, but to Ra, who is Khonshu's father, I think. And basically, throughout time, they've picked avatars to fight throughout time. You see a few panels in the comics of them fighting in different stages throughout existence, and it's Khonshu always comes out on top, and Sun King is having none of that. Basically, he's having none of it. He's having none of it. He wants to be the one that makes Ra proud to do the job that he was supposed to do.
Gotcha.
And from the more recent trailer, it looks like it's kind of a cultish type thing too. When they showed Ethan Hawke and they showed the people bowing down in front of him as well. So it sounds like it's gonna be like an interesting combination.
It makes me think that, although we've not seen anything in the trailers or casting, he could also be a combination of Sun King and the Truth, because he uses the Truth in the comics to help kind of get that following. The Truth doesn't do too much. It's that when people are around him, they see. How do they explain it? It's like they see the truth, but in the most perverse way.
Right.
And he basically, the Sun King basically lets them see this through the truth, and he tells them, we'll stop all that. We'll go and make our own civilization. Follow me. We'll make sure none of this happens. So
it becomes like a messiah sort of thing, doesn't it?
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Like a cult.
Yeah. I can see how a cult like that, and then this kind of mercenary / schizophrenic / millionaire kind of, I can see how that can all kind of meld together to make this really interesting sort of mix of ingredients that could be, like I said, really cerebral. I can see how that could really play with your mind, and I hope they go down that route and twist things a little bit just to make it a bit more in a kind of similar way to what WandaVision did. Actually, that was a little bit up here, wasn't it, in your head? Especially at the beginning. You didn't quite know what was going on. You thought, am I supposed to laugh at this? Is this supposed to be funny? And then you're like, or is it supposed to be really tragic? Or is this, what is going on? Like, it made you sort of, I don't know, a bit confused, a little bit. And I think that's what these ingredients that we just spoke about have got. I think they've got the capability to do that. Go on, Alex.
I was going to say, let me add one thing. So I think it was the Crazy Runs in the Family story arc, Sun King is patient 86, right, Jamie? And a doctor actually goes and introduces him to Ra, doesn't she?
Yeah.
And so she uses Marc as how do I say this? Basically, I helped this person using Khonshu. You use Ra for this person. It's a symbolism thing. So they try and use something to associate them with to help them kind of pull it all together. So it's kind of like two people. It's like that fighting fire with fire thing. It's like two characters that are very similar kind of type deal.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Dr. Emmett, that's another thing that makes, that's another point there as well with the whole, is he crazy? Is he not crazy? Because when he's in the hospital, when he's in his meetings with Dr. Emmett, she's a doctor, that's it. But when he has those flashes of seeing things, he sees it as a Amut, the Egyptian god Amut. And again, is he actually seeing that or not? Has she deliberately done what she's done with Sun King, or again, is it all just coincidental?
Mm-hmm.
Nice. I'm certainly looking forward to this. I think he's Oscar Isaac's going to get a chance to really sort of spread his wings with this one. I think he was quite restricted, wasn't he? With I haven't seen him in much, admittedly. Obviously as Poe in the Star Wars trilogy, but he was quite restricted in that role. I don't think there was much room for him to really grow and really show what he can do, and that is all I've actually seen him in. I know he's been in a few other bits, but I'm interested to see how he can bring this role to life and sort of really to just show all of these different sides of this really interesting character that I know a little bit more about him now, but I still don't know. But like Jarian, my knowledge comes from crossovers, so I haven't read any of his actual stories. So I think I have to get into that in the next month or so before that comes out. Excuse me. Yeah, I mean, regardless of what happens, it's going to be a great show because they sort of hit them out of the park, don't they? Disney are just hitting everything out of the park at the minute, so it's almost like it doesn't matter what they do, we're gonna buy into it. But any last thoughts on Moon Knight or anything really before we close off for today?
March 30th is the rumored, or not rumored. I guess they said it on the latest trailer. So March 30th.
Yeah, they did.
So it'll end about Multiverse of Madness time, won't it?
Around
Just
yeah.
after. Just after the week after, it'll do exactly the same as what Hawkeye did. It'll have an episode a couple of days before, and then the final episode will be the week after.
Okay.
With No Way Home, Hawkeye, No Way
Home. I think the first free Wednesday after that is May 4th, and that's where everyone's like, Obi-Wan.
Yep.
Perfect.
I just hope we get some kind of cameo, whether it's Ghost Rider or Blade, or Black Knight, or somebody towards the end. I'd love to see the Hell Charger being stolen by Moon Knight. No Ghost Rider, just see him driving the Hell Charger, but I don't think it's going to happen. But that'd be hilarious, though.
That's a big ask, to be honest.
Yeah.
That is a big ask. I think there's. I reckon we could be in for a little Blade snippet.
Hopefully in costume this time.
Yeah, not even in costume. Just see his face, maybe.
Yeah.
Nobody really knew who it was until it was told who it was. But I think that'd be a nice way to follow on from that little stinger in Eternals to actually
I think,
see him now.
Yeah, I think Blade would be a good one. It's almost like he's playing Tony Stark when at the end of Hulk, when you see him building the team. Yeah, we've already saw him with Black Knight. Let's see him show up for Moon Knight.
Yeah, exactly.
Type of thing. So
exactly. Let's close it off there then, guys. It's been a great chat. We've delved into a little bit more news than what we normally do. We had a bit more time, and actually, there's a really interesting chat about Moon Knight. I've learned a few things about Moon Knight, so thank you, Jamie, for coming on and guest hosting with us today. You're again welcome to join us anytime you want, especially when you come in with sort of solid information like that.
Yeah, come back when Moon Knight starts. When the series starts.
Yeah, definitely.
I will, definitely.
Every week. We'll have you on every week for 6 weeks.
Are you ready?
I will be.
You've got like 5 weeks to prepare. But listen, Jarian, Alex, it's been a pleasure as always. Jamie, take care, and we'll see you all soon. Take care.
Have a good one.
See you guys.
Why don't you tell them about the time we faced
All right. Well, as I remember.
at Avenger headquarters?